former client said he became a bully of lies. When guys know they've been found out, they go on the attack.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Coffee with the Couple Cure. I'm Jay.
I'm Lori, and thanks for joining us. We're still on the topic of the trauma of betrayal, and today we're going to talk about the other types of betrayals that we've seen even after she finds out that he's had a hidden life of maybe not having the highest sexual integrity. Today we're going to talk about the betrayal of anger issues or gaslighting or minimizing, blame shifting, all that kind of stuff. And in this conversation we're going to be talking a little bit about like post-war vets, and I don't want to make light of our servicemen and women who have gone to war to protect our freedoms. The stuff they have gone through created the very term PTSD. So their sacrifice has also given a lot of other people insight into what's happened to them after trauma. So my hat goes off to y'all. Thank you for your service. I do not mean to make light or equate the betrayal of trauma to the trauma that can happen after or in war. So I just want to make that clear up front. And my husband's ex-military, so he has a lot of... He's part of the band of brothers and sisters.
So thank you for your service as well. And the difference for the soldiers is they can leave the combat zone and they can come home and they can be in a safe place. It's just, it takes a while to convince them that they're safe. For people who have been through betrayal trauma, if they decide to stay in the relationship, they're still in an unsafe place because of who they're living with.
Yes. And I thought about this. I thought about that very thing that you talked about. And what I thought was it would be similar to what happened to the Vietnam vets, where they came home and they were bashed and they were blamed, and that, home wasn't safe anymore.
Right. So
yes, there's a lot of other things that happen that are worse than the betrayal. And again, if you saw it as a triangle pointing up, the porn, and cut that triangle into 3 sections, the porn is the smallest part. The hiddenness is another part, but where she really starts going insane is the bottom part, where she doesn't feel safe with kind of anybody, which is similar to what I think some post-war vets go through if they're blamed or that sort of thing. And another one difference I thought of was she didn't sign up for this. When you signed up with the military, you knew you could go to war. You knew, and you were kind of ready for it.
Yeah.
When she signs up for marriage, typically in the vows is, I will forsake all others. So that's what she's signing up for. She doesn't understand that she's going into war.
Yeah.
Like we said, anger issues can be part of the everything else that makes her go a little insane as well. And I just I just got an email from a former client who's reflecting back on the previous years, and she said, she knew something was up, but every time she brought it up, he would blame her. But then when he got caught, when the evidence showed he had been lying, she said, he became a bully of lies. And we've seen this with other clients as well. I have had another client who said, for the first 26 years, he was a great husband, but once he got found, she's like, why can't he go back to that? And I said, because the cat's out of the bag. When guys know they've been found out, they go on the attack because they feel such shame, they feel such
exposure. Yeah,
they think she is thinking the same crappy things about him that he does.
Right.
And so he goes on the attack.
Yeah. Yeah, and the kind of the problem of shame in this is, as much as you try to tell the guy that's not what I really think, he is still stuck in thinking that himself. And that makes everything she says land in him in a different way. And he feels like, I can't believe she said that, or how dare you say that. And, you know, like we talked about last time, he's triggering on things and lashing out, and because he cannot see himself as the kind of the monster he believes himself to be.
Right. And if she thought he was the monster he thought he was, she'd be gone, most likely.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's tricky, and the worst part of this is the woman thinks, okay, he's told me we can talk about this. He's told me he wants to make me feel safe. And then he blows up at her.
Yeah.
And then he blames her, and then he says something awful trying to get her to stop, and now he's made it worse. You know, it's, yes, I'll be a safe place for you, and oh, by the way, now I'm going to stab you
one more
time while you're sitting here talking to me, and the wound doesn't get healed. The wound has a fresh wound, and you know, Lori's referred to it as a death of 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
And you know, I've seen this in her, how incredibly painful it is, and I've seen how painful it is for the women that we work with. Just the pain of this consistent pattern from the guy that continues to do more damage instead of healing.
Yeah. And that was, you know, the anger issues in our marriage would come out when I tried talking about it. And again, if you listen to the last episode, I wrote, you know, I hope we can talk about it this time. It was one of the first things I wrote after, you know, I found out it was a D-Day. And over the years, over our healing years, at least trying to heal years, I realized the very conversations that were meant to heal actually caused more damage. So that was not fun.
Right.
Anyway, back to, you know, being still in the war, just like we said on the last episode that, you know, she's still in the war because there are all these images around, but she also still is in the war because of this volatile situation with him that he promises, and then goes back to not even prior behavior in explosions, but possibly and typically even bigger explosions is what we've seen. Another issue we wanted to cover was gaslighting, and I want to be very clear on what gaslighting is. Gaslighting comes from, it's an old 1930s film called Gaslight, and it was where a man and his husband and wife were living in this house, and he started having feelings for the maid, and she started picking up on it. So what he did was the wife would leave the room, and he would turn the gas lights down, and she'd come in and go, I thought I turned these up already. Wow, you know, did it get darker in here? He's like, what are you talking about? Right. And then she would turn them back up, or he would, like, then she would leave and he'd turn them back up again. It was an intentional deception, intentional actions, an intentional choice to try to get her to doubt what she saw, what she was picking up with her own senses, because then he could get away with an affair.
Right.
So that's what gaslighting truly is. Gaslighting is an intentional, it's abuse, basically, but it's an intentional behavior, an intentional choice to cause a person to not trust their own senses.
Right.
Now, what we see is a lot of the time there's unintentional gaslighting.
True.
Where, anyway, that's a whole other topic, but sometimes it can feel like gaslighting. He's trying to make me feel crazy. It's kind of rare that the guy, at least the guys that we work with, are intentionally doing that. So I kind of think sometimes that term is overused. Yet, whether it's intentional or unintentional, the result is the same.
Right.
The result is the same, and she still needs clarity in those moments for her own sanity. She needs to be able to be brought back into, like, I can trust my gut. I can trust what I see and hear in my own life.
Yeah, it undermines reality.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I did was I had a tendency to own and deny. I would say, yes, I did this.
That was so hard. Oh my gosh, that was some of the hardest times.
And then later she would come back and ask me the same question again, and I would say, well, no, I didn't really do that. And so now she's like, okay, which one is true? Which one is real? And that's when you're trying to repair, when she's not sure what is going on for me and I'm giving her conflicting answers, it leaves her spinning. And that's not an easy place to be when you're trying to heal.
And that's kind of common. I don't know, maybe 40, 50% of our clients, but maybe not that high. But some guys, you know, he'll say, okay, this is the truth about me. And she'll say, are you going to take that back soon? And he'll say no. And then in a few days, he's, I wasn't telling the truth then. But, you know, she's already kind of gotten the truth from him. Mm-hmm. It's just he doesn't want to stay there, which just like Jay said, is very damaging, because it's like, okay, I still can't trust a word you say. Right.
So there's a whole lot about rebuilding trust and all of that we, you know, we've got a video series called The Basics of Rebuilding Trust for you guys. Go find The Basics of Rebuilding Trust. It's a 2.5 hour series that Lori and I put together to help you in that process, because rebuilding trust is not something that's just going to happen because you quit doing a certain behavior. You've got to be very intentional about rebuilding trust, making her feel safe, because she is still sleeping with the enemy. I mean, until you start doing some of these other things, that betrayed spouse is wondering, what's going on? I don't have an answer here. I can't read his mind to know what's true anymore.
So I think we'll wrap this up, because the other stuff I have on my list kind of goes into a whole different topic. So I think we'll cut this one here, and we'll see you